Hey everybody, 2 for 1 special. It's still February 15th, 2026. It is 9:11 p.m. That was not on purpose. Um, and I'm just reaching out to you guys just to talk about something that I've actually learned just today. I took some time out to really reevaluate what I felt was important to me and really ask myself why those things were important. The conclusion that I came to was that some consolidate, what's the word, counseling, is that the word for it? Start with a C. Counseling, it's another word I'm trying to use. um I really want to find the specific word I'm looking for with chat gpt. There's another word for it, and I promise it'll make sense. It's a form of counseling, I guess, or like advice or whatever, from ChatGPT. Consulting. I consulted with ChatGPT. My apologies. Um, about what I really wanted, like what I really wanted and what I really needed, because they're two completely different things. A few things that I learned was that I was used to just chasing something, any given goal in mind. I'm used to chasing it, and if I'm not able to really like run for that and go for that and make sure that that happens, it's like I feel like that I'm lacking. I'm gonna just read through it verbatim, and it can get it. Some people might think it's pretty deep. I think it is pretty deep. I mean, ChatGPT put it down as self-discovery questions. I got this prompt from Facebook, and it says, "Ask me 10 questions one at a time that will reveal more about myself than I even know about myself." Chat. All right, I'll ask 10 questions one at a time. Answer as honestly as you can. After each answer, I'll ask the next one. Question one: when you're at your absolute best, quietly, not performatively, what are you doing, and who, if anyone, gets to see that version of you? And I responded, I'm alone and actively thinking about ways I can progress in life, or going about making that happen through studying, research, or action. Chat says, when you're alone and trying to progress, what specific fear are you trying to outrun or outsmart, if any, and what would happen if you stopped running from it for 30 days? So essentially, it's asking, what am I trying to outrun or outsmart, and what happened if I just stopped running from it and just gave it a change of pace? And I responded, I'm trying to keep myself from going bankrupt financially and mentally / emotionally. The future is uncertain. I'm currently unemployed and I don't know what I should do moving forward. If I stopped running from it for 30 days, there would be no immediate changes except maybe my worry for my future would increase. Then chat responded with another question. Picture it's February 15th, 2027, which is today, just a year from now. You're not rich, but you're stable, and you feel quietly proud of how you handled this year. What are the three biggest changes that are true in your life then? Uh, which is between work, money habits, relationships, routine, confidence, or anything. And which one of those would surprise you? Which surprised that today you the most? So, what are the three biggest changes that are true to my life? If I feel like I handled 2026 greatly, or if I was proud of how I handled 2026, and which one would surprise me the most? And I responded, I'd either be working or would be in a position where I don't have to work. I'd be out of debt, and I would be fit. I have a goal of losing about 100 pounds. I'd say being in a financially stable position with no debt would be the biggest surprise. Chat then responded with another question. If no debt and stable would surprise you the most, what do you think that reveals about your default story about yourself? Pick the closest one. Gave me about 7 answers. Well, really 6, and then there's an other. Uh, and I went ahead and just stuck with number 4, which is I'm disciplined in bursts, then I crash. It moved along with question 5. When you crash, what usually triggers it first? Another multiple choice setting came up with 6 different answers. I picked 2. The first one being you miss one day, feel behind, and quit. And the other one was you push too hard, too fast, then burn out. I would say both of those are very true for me. I can miss one day, fall behind, and then it's like, okay, it's over with. And another one would be, me pushing too hard, too fast, and I end up burning out because I'm trying to put everything I have into this. Which is even true for this channel, honestly. I bought a whole new PC, bought one of the most expensive monitors on the market, all to start posting YouTube videos that don't really require any of what I've actually done. I actually recently cleaned out my laptop myself instead of paying someone else to do it, just so I could learn how to go about it. Bought a fan for it. I have canned air already here. Bought a dusting kit. Cleaned off the two fans that are in the bottom of my laptop, and it runs just fine now. It really wasn't necessary for me to spend, what is that? I spent about maybe almost $4,000 on everything here. It really wasn't necessary for me to do that for me to start posting every day, but I ended up doing it anyway. Because whenever I want to do something, I just throw everything I have into it and, just go at it as hard as I can. And then one day I miss it, or one day I just get burned out and it's just, I'm done. I'm just not doing it anymore. And it's a consistent issue that I have that I'm actually glad that came out. I wouldn't have even been able to acknowledge that fully without ChatGPT just laying it out like that for me. And I mean, some people might think that's sad, and I might be inclined to agree, but just understand that this comes from a person who's never really been through any actual level of mental health before or mental help before. I've never actually sought out a psychologist, or I mean, the few times I did, I didn't feel confident enough in the people that I was, in the options that I was given to actually go for it with everything that I had, as I do with everything else. As much as I would love to actually go through that with a trained professional and give them my entire life story and see if I can sort out everything that I've been feeling, I I lack the I lack the confidence to be able to do that in the scale that I would like to, if that makes sense. Um, I would prefer somebody, and people might feel a way about this, that fits in my demographic, and there's not too much of that going around. Not in my general local area, I mean. And I know there's like online options as well that are also very affordable. It's just that, the opportunity, the idea of actually going out and searching for that actively, it hasn't crossed me yet. And sorry for the tangent. It's just, I feel like it's necessary to go over, and I feel like it's something that a lot of people might have questions about later on, and I feel like it was worth, just making a note of. And more questions might arise from that, but nonetheless, uh, and after I gave ChatGPT those answers of what usually makes me crash, what triggers it first, I miss one day, feel behind and quit it, or I push too hard too fast and then burn out. Chat then asked me, when you push too hard, what are you secretly trying to prove and to whom? Uh, and I had two different answers. One of them is pick one direction, and basically what it is, it's a couple of voices, like I guess like sentences, um, that I'm trying to fight against essentially, or I'm trying to prove myself to, I guess. The first one I picked was I'm not lazy. I am secretly trying to prove that I'm not lazy. Not secretly, but I'm just trying to prove that to myself essentially, that I'm not lazy. The second one is I'm better than my past. It's both of them. And it says, whose voice do you hear in your head when you fall short? But that it's my own voice. This is where it gets kind of deep. ChatGPT asks, if it's your own voice, then it learned its script somewhere. What exact sentence does it say when you fall short? I put that it isn't anything. It isn't like there's anything specific that it isn't like there's a specific voice saying something specifically that's affecting me. I just yearn to get to an earlier, more disciplined version of myself, and I fall short of the expectation sometimes. Now, I had a very challenging upbringing, financially especially, very financially troubled upbringing. Um, my mom did her best for all of us, and I can never take that away from her. But I had a very large, I guess, thirst to allow my family and allow me to get out of the horrible financial situation that we were in. I inadvertently became the man of my home at a very young age because of that. It pushed me to become a more responsible individual, for the most part, and it made me able to take on responsibilities that someone my age probably wouldn't be ready for normally under regular circumstances. Um, and I didn't say all this to them, but I fall short of the expectations sometimes of the man that I used to be. and I was a way more disciplined individual. I ran every day. I had to run to and from work because I didn't even have a car yet. That was about 4 miles I was running to, and about 4 miles I was running back from work. I used to work at a Pizza Hut back then. Um, yeah, and I was working out every day. I was eating okay. I was eating better than how I do now. Um, but overall, I was a very fit individual. I saved a lot of money. I saved the majority of the money that I made, at least about 90%, easily 90% of everything that I made. Granted, I didn't have bills. I just helped my mom out with bills when she needed it. But for the most part, I saved everything else. This is back when I only had one pair of shoes. I had one singular pair of shoes. As of right now, I probably have about 80 or 90 pairs of shoes. So it's like I've indulged way too much in the spoils of my hard work, and I mean to the point where I can't even really fathom the kind of individual that I must have been back then. Granted, I had much less responsibility than I do now. I did have a lot of responsibility, much less than I do right now, and I wasn't 100% in charge of all of my living expenses. But yeah, um, times have definitely changed, for better or for worse. I really can't say. Um, but after I answered their question, it isn't like there's a specific voice saying something specifically that's affecting me. I just yearn to get to an earlier, more disciplined version of myself, and I fall short of that expectation sometimes. Chat then said, "That's really precise. You're not being attacked, you're being compared. So let's define the earlier disciplined you like a character study. What were the three conditions that made that version of you possible?" I answered, I had something to prove to myself. I hadn't yet reached any of my given potential, and what I wanted to see what that looked like. And I wanted to see what that looked like. I tapped into it and accomplished a lot since then. I understand that I am a capable human being. That's just one. Two, I was hungry. I was in a position of desperation. My family was poor, and I wanted to get us all out. I made every waking moment about that goal, and I was very goal oriented. I wanted to lift the next big weight. I wanted to hit the next big savings milestone, and it was also new and exciting. So Chad then responded, back then, desperation, novelty, and a clear prove it mission kept you going. Now that you know you're capable, what do you think you're actually craving more? There was a couple of quite there was a couple of multiple choice that I could have picked from. A mission bigger than yourself again, the feeling of novelty, rapid progress, external structure, peace and accountability, recognition and respect, something else. Pick up two letters and tell me what you'd be willing to give up to get them. Now, I didn't even read the two letters and tell me what you'd be willing to go to get them. I was just completely and utterly honest. I felt like that working within the confines of what ChatGPT was trying to ask me might have been limited, and it was better that I was 100% just honest with how I felt. I told ChatGPT that I want peace and stability, but I know I should strive for a mission bigger than myself. Chat then responded, you just revealed a big split. What your nervous system wants, peace, versus what your identity thinks you should want, which is a mission. Here's the final question. If you fully allowed yourself to pursue peace and stability for the next 6 months, no guilt, what would you stop doing immediately? And what would you start doing daily, even if it looks unambitious to other people? This is a question that I've never asked myself before. Because even though I've always valued peace, I've never actually tried to pursue it entirely. I never really had the opportunity to do that. The life that I live already is already decently stressful enough. The idea of me actually pursuing peace with everything that I have, it's almost impossible for me to even fathom the idea. And that's why it never came to me until ChatGPT asked me. I answered, I would stop trying to pursue my bachelor's degree. I put in parentheses that I can't afford it. I can't afford school at the moment anyway. I would get a regular job, nothing too ambitious or respectable, just something that pays my bills. I would no longer seek to elevate. I would likely make goals built around that. 10,000 plus steps daily, daily workouts or yoga, reading and writing every day, uploading videos. Um, I put daily, but they didn't agree with that. Eat cleaner with no sweets and prioritize my health and happiness 100%. ChatGPT answered me, you just gave a super telling answer. When you imagine choosing peace, you immediately equate it with, I would no longer seek to elevate. That's the hidden belief. Here's what your 10 answers reveal in plain English. You don't lack ambition. You have a boom bust operating system. You can go extremely hard, even when it's new, especially when it's new, urgent, or meaningful, but you don't yet have a boring, sustainable mode that still feels like progress. I understand that. That makes sense. if I'm not going something with so much intensity that it's almost going to hurt me, it's almost like I just don't really go too far with it at all, and that's really been my problem up till now. And that's why it's so hard for me to stay consistent because it's in bursts, which is never consistent. A car's always gonna have to turn off, an explosion always has to die down, and that intensity can't just stay up 24/7. I need to be comfortable with the amount of effort that I'm putting in, and put in a comfortable amount of effort consistently, because that consistency is more important than me doing it in large bursts. And chat also said, your biggest enemy isn't laziness, it's intensity addiction. When life isn't dramatic or urgent, part of you reads that as I'm falling off. You're not being bullied by an inner critic. You're being pulled back by a benchmark. In parentheses, an old version of you that was powered by desperation, novelty, and proving. End parenthesis. Peace is what your body wants. Mission is what your identity thinks it must chase. That tension is why you feel stuck. The key reframe, but this is what ChatGPT calls it. Peace isn't the opposite of elevation. Peace is the foundation that makes elevation repeatable. A regular job, health routine, daily writing, and uploading your YouTube videos isn't you giving up. That's you building the platform your future ambition can stand on without collapsing. And every time I reread this, I've read this maybe like 4 times out loud to 2 other people before I actually hopped on this video. Because I did this about easily 6, 7, maybe about 8 hours ago. 8 hours ago, around 1 o'clock today. Every single time I read it, I understand it a bit better. I understand it a bit more. Which is pretty interesting. Your personal discipline formula, based on what you said, you thrive when you have a clear, measurable track, visible progress, meaning, and low chaos. And essentially, what it's saying is, make peace your mission for 6 months. Stability is my training arc, is the mission statement. That's still elevation, just the kind that doesn't crash. Choose a regular job that protects your energy, not respectable, sustainable. You're picking it like an athlete picks sleep. Track 3 non-daily negotiables, not 12. 10K steps or workout. Clean eating rule, which is no sweets like Monday through Friday. Or one rule like no sweets Monday through Friday. And then create daily. Write 200 words or make a video. Add ambition in tiny doses. One stability is real for 30 days. Add one ambition block. 30 to 60 minutes a day, learning toward a job path, free resources first, or 2 to 3 YouTube uploads a week instead of daily to prevent up burnout. I plan on doing them more than 2 to 3 times, really like 5 times probably. There's enough stuff that I want to talk about already, and it takes nothing for me to take 10 to 20 minutes out of my day to make these videos. It's just a matter of the consistency, which I have that. Yeah, so it taught me a lot. It was there's a bit more that it goes into, but it's really not all the way. It's not all the way necessary. It's just some quotes that I'll be writing down later just to review them, and just to go back to them every once in a while, just to keep myself on track. But it for sure taught me a lot, and I would say that prompt is very important. I'm going to leave that prompt in the description for everybody to be able to take from, and then hopefully maybe they can, maybe they can take something from it. I'm going to have a challenge trying to find out what to name this video. I'm probably going to ask ChatGPT that too. Nevertheless, I don't make this to kind of take away from what actual mental health professionals do. My state isn't in a place where it's really necessary. Like my mental state isn't in the spot where my life is actually in danger. This is just something that I just so happen to see and wanted to pull from it and see if I could take anything from it. And I would like to say that I did for sure take something from this. It really taught me a lot about myself, how I think, how I move, and what I need to do moving forward. I've always, for the past year or so, and I would say for 100% for the past 3 or 4 months, I've wanted to make my peace a priority, and I just didn't know how. And it kind of pointed me in the right direction for that. I would for sure say about 4 months ago it wasn't possible at all in any fashion in any way. There was no way I could attain any level of peace. But I would say it's a lot more doable now, even more now more than it probably will ever be again, because I don't plan to ever really be unemployed and wondering when the next thing's going to come along. So it's something that I learned a lot from, and I think that you possibly could too. Um, Sometimes you're gonna have to go off from the prompt though. Sometimes those prompts are a little bit too limiting. You're gonna have to be 100 with them. And if you ask them enough questions, if you talk to your Chat GPT about enough or whatever, I'm sure they'll have enough of a profile of you to be able to, pick up exactly, what's needed or what's, the kind of person that you are. And I paid for my Chat GPT as well. I pay like a monthly subscription for mine, so it's Chat GPT 5.2, and the thinking is on, so it actually does think out before it says something. I know people might have opinions on like, oh man, this is stupid. Why would you go ahead and tell ChatGPT all your business? My story is not to be hidden. I don't. Nothing I've said to ChatGPT, I would have said to YouTube on my own already. I think that I was able to just get something back from that, some type of feedback off the back, instead of me waiting on someone's comment to tell me something that ChatGPT would have probably said anyway. And maybe you guys might have a different opinion on my story. Maybe you feel like that. I don't know. Maybe I'm an idiot and I just had no business going to ChatGPT anyway, or the information that I put out there I should never put in a video format. You can feel however you want to feel. I completely understand. And you're probably right. There's only so much that I can, hey, it was just something that came up. I was like, let me try it out. Let me see if I get something from it. If I didn't think if I didn't think I could take something back valuable from this, and if I was under the impression that I didn't take anything back valuable from this, I would have never made this video. I would have never wasted you guys' time for this. Thing's almost 22 minutes long. Crazy. But other than that, I hope you guys have a wonderful day. If you do choose to go out and go ahead and do that, I would implore you to really go ahead and explore why you feel the way that you do, and see where that whole question thing goes to. Because I'm sure that each time I answer the question, it went ahead and dictated the next one. And if I chose to make a very lighthearted or a very substandard one, it probably wouldn't have gotten that deep anyway. I had to be 100 with them, otherwise I'm wasting my time. Same thing here. And I don't want to waste my own time, just as much as I don't want to waste you guys' time. If you have any questions or if you just want to talk about anything in particular, just go ahead and hop in the comments. I'll be in there, and I'll get to it. Even if let's say you just see this like months from now. Hopefully you guys have a wonderful day. Thank you, and bye.